Mr. President, this is a message and a letter to you. We have done a lot of writing on our members of parliament or representatives, but they have taken us for a joke. I will highlight a number of problems that are being faced by the youths and why we have been resisting the finance bill and other things. And I will also give recommendations or what we think and feel should be done. From here, we can always engage one another on an open platform as Gen Zs, millennials, and citizens of this nation. This is not a problem affecting just the two groups, but basically everybody. But at least we are enlightened. We can air out grievances affecting the community or the society. Our politicians are used to, when something like this happens, they take unga, mafuta to our parents. And our parents will say, apologize, ni sawa tu. This is not us. The finance bill was part of what we would want to air as our grievances. We were rejecting the finance bill because it was inflated. We could not afford to have inflated taxes to fund a few people to continue with their corrupt deals. Since you already dealt with the issue of finance bill, let me tackle other things. The youths of this country and the working group are against the housing levy. Why? Mr. President, with all due respect, you cannot take money from Wamboi and give it to Wanjiko in the name of creating employment. You cannot take money from my pocket, upatie fundi, ati unampatia kazi. Where will this money circulate? It means we are not going to grow as an economy. You have to create an avenue whereby, without affecting me, you can create an opportunity or a job for Wamboi. When you're deducting this housing levy, Mr. President, there was no public participation. And when you're deducting this affordable housing, I'm not a beneficiary of this house. Ainisaidi mimi. There's no way I'm being told hii nyumba utaichukua after 5 years. I wish it was like a rent to own program. Sasa najenga nyumba yenye sitaishi ya nini? Hii nyumba, it definitely will be sold to the highest bidder, or politicians will decide venye itauzwa. It will be a beneficiary of a few. Na mimi mwenye nilijenga, probably I already have my kibanda in the village. So why would you force me to build a house that I will not benefit from? Again, on the housing program, Mr. President, with all due respect, umeeducate mtoto wako. Your kid has a degree, has a diploma, has a master's and what have you. Do you want to reduce these people into fundi wa mijengo? When we were going to campus, we all chose or whatever areas and fields we wanted to specialize in. Why do you want us to go back to being watu wa mikono, mijengo, nikabebe simiti na masters? Create a conducive environment, a conducive economy, yenye nikieka consultancy firm yangu, it is going to thrive. Not an economy whereby nikieka biashara yangu, taxes za kanjo, taxes za county, taxes right, left and center zini affect and my business cannot thrive. The taxes that are imposed on imported products. In this way, you have said that these taxes will promote local manufacturing. I agree, Mr. President. But in equal measure, I disagree. With the taxes that your government has imposed for the last 20 months, companies have been closing down and relocating to Uganda, Tanzania, and Rwanda. Why? Because their tax system is flexible. When you say you want us to buy Kenya, build Kenya, well and good. Ensure the country is manufacturing quality products. Quality products. Products that can be consumed in Kenya and also export. If we export those products, they are going to be for the benefit of our country. Mr. President, we appreciate that you're traveling far and wide kutafuta employment for our people. We hope you're not going to look for opportunities zenye watu wako they're going to work as service people like slaves. And again, Mr. President, our question is, why do you want to export our people, the learned people, to go work to other countries? Do you want to remain with the people who are not learned in this country? Do you want to remain with people the politicians are going to exploit in this country? People who do not have a voice, people who cannot express themselves, people who cannot air their grievances. Is that what you're looking for, Mr. President? Mr. President, after Tuesday's killings that happened, they told you they were 6, but from the cameras, we could tell they were more than 6. At least, Mr. President, you could have been remorseful to a point of saying investigations will be conducted to know who did this. Why did they fire demonstrators who were peaceful? Why, Mr. President? And those who were killing them, they were in civilian clothes. One who was cornered by civilians, it is on camera. It is circulating around the internet. He confessed to have been sent by one of the speakers. Mr. President, why are we allowing this level of impunity? We have rampant corruption in the country, Mr. President. Our politicians, our MPs are buying watches worth millions, belts made of crocodile, whatever. They're buying expensive cars and flaunting and flossing them. Well, I also would want to be rich. We all want to be wealthy. But why are they flaunting them to us who are funding their lifestyle? And they know very well some of us are not even affording 3 meals a day. Almost in every corner of this country, people are not affording even 2 meals a day. We have seen people doing social tests. People are going for days without food, while politicians are out here flaunting and flossing the loot or proceeds of corruption. This must stop. Less than 2 weeks ago, some police officers who are said to be connected to high-profile politicians, we know them, you know them, were cornered carrying elephant tusks. They were released. Were they charged? Where were those elephant tusks being taken? Definitely poaching and other things that are happening in your offices, Mr. President. Those bodyguards who were caught with the tusks, we later saw them accompanying a politician who was donating a lot of money. We all know how much these politicians earn. Where is this money to do these harambes coming from? Hii pesa inatumiwa individuals when they have events, when they have weddings and what have you, burials, funerals. Inatoka wapi, Mr. President? We all know it is proceeds from corruption. Let us talk about the politicians' salaries. They are always cushioned against inflation. Are our salaries cushioned against inflation? Definitely no. But for them, we have given them that class. But they are not representing us, Mr. President. If, as a country, we could come up with a way that politicians serve as the people, Therefore, the school that my children go should be the school that your children are going. We should have a policy whereby mtoto wa commoner mahali anasoma, politicians should take their children to those facilities so that they can improve the quality and the quantity. Classrooms ziongezwe, the quality ya masomo iongezwe. For instance, we all know CBC has become a joke in this country. We cannot tell what our children are learning. JSS, ask parents. Watoto hawajui hata ni nini hizo wanasoma, Mr. President. Watoto wengine hawajaona walimu for quite some time. Why? Our politicians are not bothered. As long as yake ameenda international school, when wanaweza kaa. Look at hospitals. Our politicians cannot go to public hospitals. They always go either outside the country or the high class level private hospitals. Sisi, we cannot access quality health care, but the people we pay, the people we fund their lifestyles, wao wanaenda kutritiwa majuu. Look at the newly introduced SHIF under the Social Health Act. For a common mother, a common woman to give birth, kujifungua, she needs to have a package of 11,200 shillings, Mr. President. When we had Linda Mama, ulikuwa unaona wamama mpaka wanakosa nguo. So, hii pesa itatoka wapi? But the package we give our politicians, dental cover 75,000, optical 75,000, inpatient 10 million, outpatient 300,000, maternity iko covered. Do you think these people will be mindful of what is happening in public facilities? They will always pretend to know, but they don't care. They need to access, their covers need to cover up to that level so that they can work for mwananchi. Our leaders, Mr. President, after funding their lifestyle, they are mocking us. They are mocking us who represent them. They are calling us unlearned. They are saying Gen Z don't pay taxes. Actually, I think mahali tumefika, Gen Zs we are the ones who are even supporting our parents. Our parents wamefika mahali, maybe wamepata magonjwa yenye inakuja na age. Wengine hata hawakuwa na kazi. They are depending on us. How would you say that we don't pay taxes? How would they say that sisi we are not supposed to afford the kind of lifestyle we are having? Hatufai kukua na iPhone, hatufai kukula KFC, as though it is a reserve of a few. As though they are the only ones who should give their children that kind of lifestyle. They are mocking us, Mr. President. They want to create an imbalance in the society. The haves and the have-nots. And the haves want to be paid by the have-nots. Imagine arrogantly telling us that you have not read the finance bill, of which they pass bills, then come tell us, hatukuwa tunajua ni nini iko hapo ndani. These are the things angering us. We cannot have a discord, a society imbalance, whereby we are having 1,000 billionaires and 54 million poor people. We cannot have that imbalance, Mr. President. You see, Mr. President, when your cabinet secretary comes to the media and tells us there is no employment into the government sector for the next 1 year, yet we know the people holding those offices are incompetent. Where did qualification and professionalism go to in this country? Can't we have competent people in those offices? Mr. President, you are on camera saying you know more and much a lot than your people, than your team. Sorry to say, when you find a health cabinet secretary firing someone in another docket just because they are in your cabinet, what does that tell you? Mr. President, when you have someone like, sorry to say, Linturi, your CS Agriculture, akisimamia your docket with the corruption cases he had, he was vetted and approved by the same people who are mocking us, Mr. President. When we have an education cabinet secretary anaamka anaamua watoto kesho waende nyumbani, CBC sasa to agree kama ni CBC ama ni CBE, they pay people sitting allowance, Mr. President, to agree if it is going to be to decide whether it's going to be competence based curriculum or competence based education. Tulifika wapi? Tulifika huko lini? Mr. President, today you made declaration accompanied by the same people who have been mocking us. And when you are saying that a few reasons as to what you considered, they were laughing and clapping at you, Mr. President. What changed overnight? And in fact, when a journalist asked you a question, imagine they like kutunyororia. I don't know how we are going to talk about it. Ati hatutaki development. That tells you, Mr. President, these people you're working with, they are out to terrorize us for the remaining part of the year, of the financial year. Wakisema si walikataa development. So hata kitu kama basari watoto hawatapewa. Why? Si mliangusha finance bill. Those are the kind of people, Mr. President, you're working with. And when I was talking about competence and qualifications, Mr. President, we know you have been flying in and out of the country. But ask your people, us who championed for this government. We will tell you, when the president is not flying, he is lying. That is the new slogan in town. And when he's not lying, he is crying in church. We know you have done a lot. But look at your communication team. What are they doing? They are messing you, Mr. President. They are setting you up, Mr. President, for failure. They cannot do simple communication. And that is why, even when there is a problem on this side, they cannot communicate it to you. There is a problem when it comes to meritocracy in this country. Now, here are a few things that we would want addressed, Mr. President. The Defense Cabinet Secretary made a post saying that should 30th of June come without you having assented to the bill, then we are going to continue using the Finance Bill 2023, and we are going to have a deficit of 200 billion shillings. Mr. President, let your people first of all deal with corruption. For instance, where were the elephant tusks being taken? Where were they taken? These people are released under what conditions? Kickbacks, Mr. President, in all these ministries, in all tenders, zimejaa huko. Pesa yenye inakolektiwa as taxes inatumika kupeana kickbacks. Harambee fundraisers, Mr. President, 20 million. Hata kama uko na biashara zinaleta pesa ngapi? 20 million. Na next Sunday uende utoe 24 million. Hiyo ingine utoe 17 million. Ai, watu si wajinga, Mr. President. The same people, they are buying watches, belts, worth millions, shoes. Mr. President, not unless ujifanye ujaona hizi vitu. Imagine an MP wa Kiambu, a lady who wants to be a governor, in less than 2 years amenunua V8 hizo 3, modern ones 3, alafu naniambia niyo mshahara yake tu. Na imagine hao watu 3 tunawapeanga grants zenye hazina. Mr. President, what major projects are ongoing in this country? We have no SGR, we have no Linda Mama, we have no super highway that is being built, nothing to show. Where is this deficit again coming from? For instance, again, Mr. President, we have offices of your spouses, the president, his deputy, and the prime cabinet secretary. For instance, the previous regime, we had Linda Mama and the First Lady and Beyond Zero campaign, which are not here in this administration. But in our current office, our First Lady is funding and hosting fake pastors. What is more important? Is it the health of our children, or is it funding these fake pastors? Because I won't talk about religion, I won't talk about the spirituality of it, but again, they are fake. Ask us, Mr. President, why would the First Lady be paying intercessors to pray for our country, alafu analeta pastors wana huko majuu? Why can't he have local pastors? We have real pastors here, and we also have fake pastors, and we know them. NHIF, Mr. President, it is not working. Currently, it is not working. I can tell you for sure. Nilienda hospitali and I was asked to pay cash for outpatient. And at this new shift, Linda Mama haiko. Mama anafaa kulipa apate mtoto normal. And again, if there are complications, this lady needs to be vetted. Imagine uko na uchungu, uko na complication, uko na mtoto and what have you. But you have to wait for, I think one is 72 hours, yes, and normal ni 72 hours. What exactly was the problem of NHIF? Kama ni pesa kuibiwa, couldn't that be addressed or worked on without having to change an entire system? Someone wants to eat money somewhere. Cutting down on travel expenditure. Mr. President, I don't doubt your integrity and what you go to do to the United States of America. But when you carry a delegation of around 15-20 people, for instance, it's very nice they accompanied you when you went for the United States state visit. But did we see any input? Did we see any input in how governors, those, we did not see their input. Hatukuona mali walikuwa anafanya anything huko. What has these trips yielded? We need to see. Si kutuambia umepanga, umetenda, mmeagree, mmetenga. Tuonyeshe ground. Ni nini ina happen? Leaders are flying from one corner to another in the name of they don't want to associate with villages. So, hii Sunday ako huku, Friday ako huku, na wanaenda na mafuta ya ndege. Hii pesa inatoka wapi? Kitambo they were not going like that. Leaders are using public resources to go launch private facilities. What is their interest in these private facilities? Your inner circle, Mr. President, has the mtu wetu syndrome, haizi tuuliza. For instance, despite the public uproar and cries that you should not send our police to Haiti, it was like a matter of life and death. Court zilikataa, kukakuwa na mswada parliament, but they still went. Well and good. But do you want to tell me UN ilipeana a token or a package of 20,000 shillings, Mr. President? Sources and also in the newspapers, they said they were supposed to receive a token of 100,000, but they received 20,000. 20,000, Mr. President, ilikuwa inafaa ifanye nini? These people don't even know when they're going to come back. Wameachia watu wao nini? Bibi, wazazi, watoto. But mtu wetu syndrome, rais hatatuuliza. Prioritize projects, Mr. President, that you have to do away with that are not important. For instance, Office of the Spouse of the Cabinet Secretary. What projects do they run? Yet, she receives public funds. The final thing, Mr. President, I would address is the MPs' salaries. These are people, they are servants of the people. I don't think we should be creating a gap between them and the people they serve. Their salaries need to be sliced, maybe to 200,000 or even 100,000 anyway. Why should we cap them so high that even our professionals, they are willing to leave their jobs, their calling, wakuja waingie hapa because we have lucrative salaries? Should, serving people is a calling. Ni kama tu kukua pastor, ni kama kukua daktari. Utaenda hata saa yenye mshahara yako imedelay. We can also stop giving these MPs sitting allowance. For instance, are you paid for going to stay in your office? Am I paid for doing my work? And then at the end of the month, still receive another salary. Hizi allowances ndio zinawaharibu hao watu. And also, tumeongea hapo awali about public facilities that politicians should be using. I know I have not covered exhaustively what these people are addressing. I am sure you're going to come across other videos. We hope and we pray that you're going to address them. Thank you.